Chapter 12. We may only have a non-aggression pact with Kuma, but we have to deepen that alliance. Sarutobi-sensei laid the groundwork well. We need to build on it as fast as possible, Tsunade said to the assembled council. They were all here. All the great clans of Konoha were represented by their respective clan heads, save for the Uchiha. The aftermath of the invasion weighed heavily on the upper hierarchy of Konoha, causing them to assemble and take decisions on the village's future. Kumo is hardly trustworthy, Hokage-sama. They are traitorous dogs who break their word at the drop of a hat. We have seen this for ourselves. What guarantee do we have that the Raikage won't dishonor our agreement the same way he did when he authorized Hinata's kidnapping? Hayashi asked in a cold voice. Some shinobi in the room were nodding their heads, mostly Hyuga Aonin. It had affected the Hyuga clan deeply when they were forced to sacrifice the branch family head to preserve the Byakugan's secrets. Tsunade looked at Naruto, who stood up and faced Hayashi calmly. You speak the truth, Hayashi-san. They may very well try to dishonor our treaty when it conveniences them. Ninja have never been ones for honor, have we? We protect what is ours at all costs, even if everything else burns. Mito watched with rapt attention as her husband began to gather the support of the clans. Hashirama was always very charismatic, in speech and action. The opposite of Madara, she thought. Madara was forceful, convincing his subordinates with his awe-inspiring strength. But Hashirama. But then Hayashi began to reply. There is one thing, Hayashi-san, which you have forgotten. The Raikage will have heard the truth of Naruto's actions on the battlefield. To beat Onoki and his army simultaneously is no mean feat, as you well know. He will be afraid to oppose Konoha with what strength Kumo has now. I assume that is why the non-aggression pact was inked to last for just 3 years, enough time for Kumo to gather its strength. Only when Kumo is at her full might will the Raikage try to lean out of his neutrality, finished Tsunade. What if he is favoring Akatsuki all this time, and simply keeping Konoha out of the picture till he is ready? Yamanaka Inoue questioned with a somber face. Unlikely. As far as we know, Akatsuki have no foothold in Kumo. Jiraiya-sama, to your knowledge, have Kumo hired Akatsuki even once? Kakashi asked. No. They have never hired Akatsuki in any capacity. We need have no worry about them turning to Akatsuki. But that begs the question. Why the 3 years of non-aggression? And if Tsunade is right, why would they need to gather strength so fast? Jiraiya pondered. The council wondered silently at this question. They would need to profile the Raikage perfectly if they were to take any decision on the Kumo alliance. Naruto thought deeply. He had been the very first Kage, and he tried to put himself in the Raikage's shoes. If he were Kumo's Kage, what would he do? The answer came to him naturally, decades of leading Konoha coming to the forefront. I think, Naruto said loudly, causing the council members to look his way. I think the Raikage does not want to make any alliances under threat of another nation's power. Konoha is very strong right now, and Kumo frantically making alliances would reek of weakness. That would be very bad for their business. Making a non-aggression pact, however, undermines them in no way, especially when Hiruzen was the one that initiated it. Tsunade's face lit up in comprehension. Of course, only after gathering power as best as he can will the Raikage be ready for an alliance. He won't compromise Kumo's business at any cost. Allying out of fear with our village will lose them their clientele. All fine and good, but how do we get Kumo to give members to the Akatsuki response team? That is all we really want out of this alliance! Exclaimed Chausa. Tsunade's face calmed as she considered the problem. We will have to send our shinobi to convince him of the threat, and form the team. I think it best if Naruto goes. The Raikage is aware of his reputation, and he will take the proposal seriously. Kumo respects strength much like the Uchiha. Naruto nodded in assent. He would do everything in his power to keep the village safe during his extended absence. Kushina, you must depart to Kiri to negotiate our proposal. The Godame Mizukage is a friend of Konoha and to you, and it seems we can count on her succor. What do you say? I agree, Hokage-sama. Mai is a longtime comrade of mine, and she will give fair hearing to any proposal of Konoha. I will leave within 3 days, said the beautiful Uzumaki woman. Tsunade nodded with satisfaction, as did the elders and the rest of the council. Naruto and Mito stiffened. From the Uchiha compound emanated a chakra which was unpleasantly familiar. The couple could sense the chakra clearly, it was cold and blazed with hatred and grief. Mangekyo Sharingan, roared Kurama in the vaults of Naruto's mind. Sasuke was suffering, and his Sharingan was reflecting it. Naruto and Mito glanced at each other even as they felt the chakra from the Mangekyo Sharingan increasing rapidly. It reeked of hatred. Of course, its malice was not even close to Madara's, but it was alarming considering the fact that it was Sasuke who was emitting the chakra. He must have found out the truth about Itachi. But how? I kept sensing him at the Nakano shrine all this while. Not good, he should never have gotten the truth this soon and by himself. I always intended for Itachi to tell him the unvarnished truth. Hokage-sama, an urgent matter has come to our attention. Please excuse us, requested Naruto. What? Questioned Kushina. Sasuke's chakra is increasing. At this rate, he may release his anger on the village. I need to leave, fast. Kasan, finish the discussion of your mission to Kiri. It is important, whispered Naruto to Kushina. If Sasuke was too far gone, he might even attack Kushina. He will never forgive himself if he does that, thought Naruto. He would let his mother meet Sasuke only after he was calmer and willing to listen. He knew all too well the mad rage of a Mangekyo Sharingan user. Nothing would reach them except force. The entire assembly stared at this odd interruption, as did Tsunade. But when she saw the urgency in her grandfather's eyes, she knew he was not playing. It truly was important. She nodded her assent. Whatever it is, grandfather will take care of it. I must concentrate on Kumo in the village council. Naruto and Mito disappeared without a sound. Sasuke's anger spiked and the black fires of Amaterasu burnt the table into ashes, leaving the documents upon it intact. His Mangekyo Sharingan caused him to leak chakra, a manifestation of his chaotically churning emotions. Brother, why did you give up so much for the village? Why? You were used cruelly by both Uchiha and Konoha, and yet you chose Konoha in the end. What is so special about Konoha that you saw fit to massacre our entire clan for it? Mother, father. Sasuke's eyes were shedding tears of blood, his face contorted in grief. He could not grasp the truth. The Uchiha were all dead, dead because of the politics of an indifferent village. He lived alone, memories of his tortures and his parents' bodies assaulting him every night. Only it was not torture, was it? You chose to spare me in your extermination. You gave me the will to awaken the Sharingan, even if it is hatred. Itachi, his beloved brother, had taken on the burdens of two selfish groups of shinobi and suffered for it. From what he read in the records, the Uchiha were planning a coup, intending to overthrow the Hokage and the entire administration. Brother, you should have taken me with you. This village does not deserve you, and neither did our clan. Fools. They had to go and tear our family apart. A fresh batch of tears made their way down his cheeks as he thought of the happy memories he had of Itachi. His rage grew as he thought of what had been taken from him. They had been inseparable. He had adored Itachi more than anyone else. His older brother had been his role model, his idol, the one he wanted to impress above all others. The one who mattered to him above all others. His eyes blazed red as he thought of what had become of him. For years, he had thrown his complete hatred at Itachi. But it turned out now that Itachi was merely acting in the interests of Konoha. Konoha. It always came down to Konoha. They were the ones who ordered the extermination of my clan. The records say Itachi was working for Root, a division of the Anbu headed by Danzo Shimura. He walked out of the shrine, eyes permanently at Mangekyo Sharingan. His tears had ceased, leaving his anger to smolder like lava. There was one group of shinobi who oversaw all the decisions made by the Hokage. The Council of Three, consisting of Mitokado Hamura, Udatane Koharu, and Shimura Danzo. The Sandaime is dead. The only ones who know the full truth of the massacre are the Council of Three. I will tear my answers from them, they who dared to massacre the Uchiha. They were the ones who saw fit to make me and my brother orphans. He traveled through the village in a series of shunshin, barely keeping his mind together in his grief and rage. I will make them pay, brother. For what they did to you and me, I will make them all pay. One day, I will seek out everyone responsible for the massacre, and massacre them. This is my vow as a shinobi and Uchiha. Naruto and Mito followed the trail of Sasuke's chaotic chakra towards the south quarter of the village, a ways away from the Uchiha compound. Sadness swarmed into his heart as he and Mito fled towards Sasuke. The young Uchiha was always meant to hear the truth from Ichi. Who knows what twisted facts had been given to Sasuke. Naruto winced as he felt an increase in Sasuke's grief. It reminded him painfully of when he had lost Itama. Sasuke is already at the quarters of Hamura. I believe he wishes to get the truth from one of the three. They won't stand for such insubordination, Hashirama. Sasuke will be declared Nukenin if he attacks them. Ichi's work will all be for naught if that happens, exclaimed Mito worriedly. Naruto flared his senses and saw that Sasuke had stopped at the entrance to Hamura's house. Unfortunately, the Council of Three were absent from the day's meeting. Hamura would be at his place of residence, vulnerable to Sasuke's anger. We need to find him and talk him down immediately. If Sasuke experiences any more grief. If his love is destroyed completely, then a new Madara will be born, finished Mito. She took Naruto's hand, and the two disappeared towards Sasuke's location. The afternoon wind blew in the streets of Konoha. The village was relatively empty, the civilians taking to their houses in the wake of a hot summer. Three masked Anbu appeared in front of Sasuke as he stood before the opulent residence of Mikado Hamura. His face was schooled into impassiveness, not betraying the smoldering anger within. I wish to see Hamura-sama. It is important. The Anbu in the center stepped forward, keeping his mask on. He had a hand upon his sword, as did his colleagues. The three exuded a sense of danger, their experience and power apparent to Sasuke's eyes. Hamura-sama is unavailable, Uchiha-san. If there is a message, I will be glad to deliver it to the counselor. Is there anything you want to tell him? Sasuke's eyes burned red. I wish to see him, now. Calm yourself, Sasuke-san. A Chonin makes no demands of Anbu. Hamura-sama is far above your station and deserves your respect. How dare you come before us and demand to see him so brashly? Sasuke's face went blank. You think yourself above me? Don't delude yourself. As the last Uchiha, I demand audience with Hamura. He asked coldly. You are in no position to make demands of your superiors. Withdraw now, and your transgression will be forgotten. The clans are beneath the Council of Three, Uchiha Sasuke said another Anbu. Sasuke's eyes widened at his audacity. After what he had read, this was the last thing to be said to him. Beneath them, are we? He whispered dangerously. Rage and despair obliterated all reason, the desire for revenge consuming everything in him. Amaterasu. The arrogant Anbu screamed as he was roasted alive by the unquenchable heavenly flames. He swept his eyes over them, and the other two Anbu were aflame as well. Kicking aside the convulsing and burning trio, he made his way towards his target. Time to deal with Hamura. If he was indeed the one who gave the order for the massacre. Sasuke would make him suffer. Only then would he move on to Koharu and Danzo. He scowled as Amaterasu burnt another hostile Anbu to ash floating in the wind. I will cleanse corruption from this village with the same eyes you gave me, Nisan. Stop, Sasuke. Sasuke turned and saw an unwelcome sight. His friend Naruto and the woman Mito were standing side by side. His flames were gone completely, leaving two badly burnt Anbu and one moderately burned. The Anbu in relatively good condition disappeared. Sasuke spat blood as he looked down at his opponent's katana buried in his gut. He coughed blood as Mito appeared to support him. He could see the compassion and sadness in her lovely face as she staunched the flow of blood from his wound. Enough. said Naruto firmly as he finished healing the two Anbu. Thick vines sprouted from the ground, restraining the Anbu as he moved in for a finishing blow against Sasuke. Sasuke got up with difficulty and began staggering towards Hamura's location again. Naruto appeared in front of him and laid two fingers on his neck. He saw Naruto looking at him sadly as the blackness consumed him. He gave in to it willingly as it washed away his suffering. The meeting was over, and Tsunade was informed of Sasuke's mental upheaval. Kakashi and Jiraiya had joined Mito, Kushina, Tsunade and Naruto in waiting for Sasuke to wake. How was it possible for Sasuke to get the truth? S-class secrets are concealed in a room with highest ceiling security, and require both the Hokage's authorization and the council's to access. No one can possibly penetrate the security of that room. Unless, trailed of Kushina, a contemplative look upon her face. Unless the perpetrator knows of those secrets. The only other way to know of an S-class secret is to be part of the event that spawned those secrets. Ichi definitely did not put those documents there, which means that someone else did. The only other one involved in the massacre was the imposter. The imposter was the one who put those documents there, said Naruto, looking around seriously at the gathered shinobi. Imposter? Questioned Jiraiya. The others looked interested. 14 years ago, for some reason, there was an Uchiha who awoke the bloodlust of the Kyuubi with his Mangekyo Sharingan. He was the cause of the Kyuubi attack. My father defeated both him and the Kyuubi in combat, causing him to flee in defeat, said Naruto, pausing to gather his thoughts. Whom did he impersonate? Questioned Tsunade with trepidation. Uchiha Madara. Answered Naruto grimly. The others gasped, shocked at the answer. Madara's very name led to death and destruction, such was the terror he inspired in the hearts of shinobi the world over. Jiraiya questioned him with doubt marring his face. Is it possible that he really is Madara? Impossible. I killed Madara in our final battle. This man is an imposter, and Ichi told me that he was helped by the imposter to end the Uchiha clan during his final mission. This imposter is pulling strings from the shadows, even pain defers to him for some reason. Orochimaru, can you give me the document Sasuke was reading? Naruto requested. Jiraiya handed over Madara's letter to Naruto, who read it in a few seconds. He handed over the letter to Mito with a shocked face. Mito's expression became shocked as well. What happened, Naruto? Questioned Kushina worriedly. This handwriting is definitely Madara's. The imposter should definitely have access to Madara's writings. My old friend invented some extremely dangerous techniques, and in the wrong hands, they can be very damaging, said Naruto. Hashirama is right. We have to oppose Akatsuki with the assumption that this imposter knows the Uchiha Kenjutsu. That is not good at all. Pondered Mito with a deep frown on her face. Why did he put those writings and truths there anyway? Asked Jiraiya. He meant to unbalance Sasuke, I think. A Mangekyo user was rare even in the old days. Now, they are precious. It was to engender hatred against Konoha in Sasuke so he could be manipulated into Akatsuki's side. He obviously did not count on me influencing Sasuke. The will of fire is too strong in him, now said Naruto with satisfaction. How can you say that, Ojizan? He attacked Hamura at his own house. Exclaimed Tsunade. Yes, he did. But I could sense in him no hatred against Konoha as a whole. He rightly wanted to kill only those responsible for his clan's extinction. It is not feasible to our village, but from a shinobi's perspective you have to admit it, right? Everyone fell silent at these words. It was a wonder that Sasuke had not turned his rage on the entirety of Konoha. It spoke volumes of the young man's moral fiber. A groan at the makeshift bed woke them up. Kushina had insisted firmly that they all be there to watch over Sasuke, and that Sasuke rest in the security of a sealed Hokage's chamber. They watched solemnly as Sasuke sat up groggily and opened his eyes. The moment he saw who he was facing, the anger on his face receded. A look of absolute despair stole across his face. Kushina, unable to bear her adopted son's suffering, rushed to him and hugged him tightly. Sasuke began to shed tears silently at this forgotten gesture of affection. The loss on his face deepened even more as he thought of his destroyed family and clan. "Brother," he whispered brokenly. Kushina hugged him tighter, whispering soothing words to him. "It's alright, Sasuke-kun. It's alright," she slowly released him from her embrace, looking at him tenderly. Sasuke looked at them all, noting their expressions. "I only wanted answers from Homura, Hokage-sama. True answers. A manuscript, however authentic, cannot be fully trusted. As for the Anbu, I only wish to get past them. You know that you can't do that if you fail to attack with deadly force. Anbu are lethal." "I understand, Sasuke. I am willing to overlook your actions this once, for Konoha itself is not blameless. Now, consider your answer carefully. You know the truth of Ichi's past." "No, I don't blame all of Konoha. It was the actions of a select few that brought about our tragedy, and I blame only those few. And if my brother saw fit to sacrifice everything for Konoha, then who am I to trample upon his legacy?" asked Sasuke with grief written all over his face. There was no way he would risk the bonds he had made with Naruto, Kushina-san, and others in search of an empty revenge. Regret filled him at what he had almost lost in his vendetta against Homura. "What?" Tsunade could barely contain her surprise. That was an answer she truly did not expect. Naruto and Kushina looked proud, and Mitoi looked approving. Sasuke was maturing rapidly and thinking logically. "You could have learned from your descendants, Madara. These two brothers are superior to you and Izuna in so many ways. Maybe even in power. Definitely in their thoughts and loyalty. I was foolish to completely believe the words in a piece of paper. It may fit the events, but the fact remains that writings can say anything. Only my brother knows what truly happened," Sasuke pondered. His rage was cooling down as he considered the facts. "That is what I told you before, Sasuke-kun. The part about Ichi sacrificing the Uchiha to keep Konoha's peace is quite true. But the motivations behind the acts of the Uchiha clan go very deep. You must ask Ichi and him alone. Before you make decisions on information from some unknown third source, make sure that source is authentic. No source is more authentic than your brother," admonished Kushina gently. Sasuke considered, the resolve in his face mounting. "I have to meet him. My mind won't be at peace till I hear the truth from my brother. I have to meet him and learn the truth from him," said Sasuke desperately. Naruto nodded. It was up to Sasuke to decide upon his next course of action, as this was entirely an Uchiha affair. All he could do was arm the young Uchiha with information. "Listen carefully, Sasuke. Let me tell you of what truly happened during the Kyuubi attack. I heard everything about the imposter, Naruto. I was awake by then. You people did not notice me till I made the sound," said Sasuke. Mito and Naruto grinned. Kushina and Tsunade were looking at Sasuke with pride and amazement still coloring their faces, unable to believe the maturity with which Sasuke was handling the situation. This generation of Uchiha were extraordinary indeed. "Ichi is part of a group called Akatsuki whose aims are hostile towards Konoha." Sasuke interrupted. "You mean he is Konoha's spy? He joined that organization as a missing nin, did he not?" "He did. He took your mother's eyes, by the way. His eyes are now eternal." Sasuke seemed to be deep in thought. He finally lifted up his head to stare at the assembled shinobi in the room. "I need to come to terms with this revelation and think on my future. Give me another 3 days. You have my word that Konoha is safe from me. Don't attack the council either, Sasuke. At least not yet. Danzo has sunk very low, and from what Naruto tells me, he has alarming beliefs. Homura and Koharu are controlled by him as well," said Tsunade warningly. "Fine. But they will pay for their crimes against my clan, make no mistake," he said with venom. Mito nodded approvingly. If anyone could understand devotion to a slaughtered clan, it was her. "Sasuke, it might be possible for you to meet Ichi sometime in the next few years. What do you think, Mito?" asked Naruto. Mito looked considering, as did Tsunade and Kushina. "Do you really want to take him?" she asked, glancing at Sasuke. Naruto nodded. That way he could continue to help Sasuke and free him from his suffering. What are you talking about? How can I meet Itachi? Asked Sasuke with confusion. Naruto grimaced. We will tell you after you have fully calmed down, Sasuke. If you agree, we might have to change many plans. Go rest, Sasuke. You have had too many revelations for one day. Sasuke looked mutinous for a few moments, then sighed and nodded. I need to think more upon this. See you later, everyone said Sasuke absently as he disappeared with a shunshin. Naruto noted with pride that Sasuke had barely made a seal to use that technique. The young Uchiha's power was increasing. Slowly by his own standards, but surely. Raikage's office, Kumagakure. The Yondaime Raikage lounged on his chair leisurely, listening absently to his brother's nonsensical conversation with Yujito. B as usual was rapping, causing Yujito to sweat drop so much that he wondered if she had invented a new water jutsu. These days, only issues of international power balances occupied his mind. Suna and Iwa were getting closer and closer, Akatsuki meshed with them dangerously. Konoha's god of shinobi, Uzumaki Naruto had risen to become a very fearsome shinobi. The tides of time were swirling in a very specific pattern, and if he did not read that pattern, Kuma would perish. He knew that there was wisdom in allying with Konoha, but international situations did not allow him to do so. Kuma could not afford to appear weak. So he had been speaking with the Mizukage on the matter. The two Kage were alarmed by Suna and Iwa's near military reorganization. They were trying to find out the identity of the new Kazekage, but Suna had not released that information till now. So he had sent a team to get intelligence on the general state of Suna. Accessing Iwa was impossible, they were under martial law. No shinobi could penetrate Iwa with a high degree of risk, and Kuma could lose its neutrality if Iwa were to uncover one of its spies. So information from Iwa had to be gotten from Suna. Raikage-sama. She and Arui have successfully completed their missions and await your audience. Shall I send them in? Asked his sexy secretary, Mabui. A setup with barely concealed eagerness and signaled Mabui to send them in. We got the intel, said Darui in a bored voice. She nodded tiredly. It seemed they had an exhausting mission. Go on. Tell me what you learned. A brief report will do. I expect a detailed one tomorrow. Darui nodded. He had spiky white hair, and carried a cleaver sword. He was a very strong ninja, having inherited the Black Lightning from the third Raikage. She was a sensor ninja just below Yujito's caliber. Suna's new Kazekage is Yuura, a former councilman. Also he is a formidable shinobi. Suna has authorized the recruitment and training of wartime shinobi, and they have begun gathering shinobi mercenaries in earnest. Their armies are slowly growing. Civilian law is erased, leaving shinobi supreme in the village. The new Kazekage has authorized research into the highly destructive techniques of the third Kazekage, and other jutsu suited only for large-scale destruction. They are beginning a long-period mobilization, strengthening their village from the inside. The Raikage sat silent at this. Suddenly B burst into speech. We're gonna kick their asses. Just like Naruto kicked Iwa asses. I'm the Uchibi, and I'll let my power free. Wee! Yelled Yujito face-palmed and ignored him completely. What about Ara? What is going on with them? Disturbing rumors, Raikage-sama. Said Darui shaking his head. Even she looked rather apprehensive. Yujito and B looked at them seriously. What? Asked Yujito curiously. They say Iwa is sealed off to all but Suna, and that Akatsuki is building their bases there legally. I guess Iwa has formally allied itself with Akatsuki. I think when the time comes, Iwa will merge with Suna to form a larger village. Their alliance is becoming stronger by the day, mused Darui. Do not ignore the minor villages, Raikage-sama. We have reports that Amigakure has allied with Iwa. There are indications of a major power block being born in the elemental countries. Iwa is gathering strength even faster than Suna. After their defeat at the hands of Uzumaki Naruto, they seem to have woken up to their weakness, said Mabui thoughtfully. Raikage-sama, I think we should treat this as a precursor to war. Iwa, Suna, and Aim are lying slowly. Takigakure and Kuzgakure are also leaning towards that alliance. Orochimaru's Otagakure has definitely joined in that alliance. We have to somehow find a way to ally with Konoha and Kirigakure. Only then can we oppose the rising power of the Iwa bloc, she analyzed coolly. The Raikage stood up with resolve on his face. His shinobi straightened as they saw the powerful Kage's authority blaze. The Akatsuki is pulling strings from the shadows. They have aims and agendas of their own, and we must be prepared for any major invasion. Darui, begin the preparation of our war response units. Do it slowly and thoroughly. I assume it will take a few years for that alliance to consolidate its power. Then, I fear it will be war, said the Raikage. Darui nodded and disappeared. I looked at the remaining with a thoughtful expression. Summon the full council and arrange a meeting with the daimyo. I will not allow our village to fall, however high be the cost. Akatsuki base. Kakazu, what is your mission status? Questioned Pain, his Rinnegan shining. Ichi stood beside him with his Sharingan activated permanently. The Akatsuki were present in their spectral forms, all save Orochimaru and the Jutsu users. Takigakure is easy to persuade, as we thought. They know that Akatsuki has enough power to raise the village to the ground. They are stalling, though. Anyway, prey like them will have to submit sooner or later, said Kakazu in his deep voice. Hidden, though, was uncharacteristically quiet as he saw Pain and Ichi stand side by side. Good. And you, Deidara and Toby? What is your status? The old man is getting more and more hospitable, yeah. He authorized Akatsuki to hire Iwa forces. The old geezer said he's taken the first step of the merger. Finished Deidara smugly. Senpai, you're too good. Leader Sama, you should have seen Senpai talk the old geezer into submission. It was quiet. Toby cut in Pain. So the merger has begun well. Soon we will have nearly half the shinobi world's power under our control. Kisame and Orochimaru, how is the gathering at Otagakure going? Many of my experiments will soon be ready, Leader Sama. Kisame is at Toto, organizing the mobilization of the nuke nin. I estimate a few years before we reach the targeted strength, said Orochimaru silkily. Kisame just nodded. Good. Things are on track, then. In 3 years we will begin our move against the Jinchuriki, starting from the Akebi. Let us disperse. The spectral figures all disappeared, leaving Orochimaru, Pain and Ichi facing one another. You have your side of the bargain to fulfill, Pain. I gave you all the information you requested, and am actively rendering my aid to Akatsuki. Will you keep your promise? Questioned Orochimaru sardonically. Come closer, Orochimaru said. Pain. The snake Sannin appeared right in front of the Rinnegan wielder. Ichi observed the happenings quietly, his Sharingan shining red in the dim light of the cave. Pain held out both his hands, palms facing up. 2 crackling lights sprung up in his hands. One was shining red in his left palm, and the other was bright blue in his right palm. Yin and Yang chakras in their purest forms. Ichi's eyes widened as he saw what Pain was doing. He had gained this much mastery over the Rinnegan? Hashirama-sama was wrong? Pain merged both lights into one, his palms now encasing a bright white light. Orochimaru looked on greedily, his snake-like eye shining maliciously as Pain performed a technique thought lost to the world. It was the creation of all things. Banbutsu Sozo.
Hey guys, what's going on? Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you guys want to watch more like it, please subscribe to my channel and become part of the video game fanfiction plot. And please leave a comment down below and hit that like button. If you guys have any suggestions on any stories you guys want me to read, don't hesitate. They're always welcome here in the video game fanfic plot. That also goes for video games. Until next time, goodbye!